going into our 14th game that counts. Our guys have done a tremendous job, each day, making each day matter. And then when they get to the games, they've made those days count, and been quite successful doing it. We'll continue the same formula, which is to strive to have great days. We're going to do that today. Have great meetings. We'll have a really good walkthrough. Strive to have that. Then get the energy up and go play the game.
We all know that LA and Philly stay jiggy, but on the snake, Miami bringing heat for real. Y'all don't understand.
Welcome in to the Mason Blue Review Afternoon Live. I'm Dennis Fithian. That was Jim Harbaugh down in Miami in a joint press conference with Kirby Smart, the head coach from Georgia. Just listened to that for the last hour. So I feel like you'll see, if you're watching, Adam Schnepp, the senior editor of the Mason Blue Review, and then Jim Scarcelli, who's been on not only Michigan football post games, he's undefeated, but he's been on basketball and a regular here on Thursday. So, guys, it's great to see. I was just saying, I listened to Coach Smart and Jim Harbaugh there for the last hour, and they're so appreciative of everything, and and saying all the right things. Heading into this game, some 30-odd hours, before kickoff, it's making me feel like I'm ready to seize this hour here. Adam, how you doing? Let's talk about tomorrow. I mean, everything we've heard everybody weigh in a million times on this game right here. What's standing out as we get so close to kickoff?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Dennis. What stands out to me is, like so many people have said, Georgia's front seven versus Michigan's offensive line and tight ends. I mean, I think for as much as this game could be decided on the edges, it's going to start in the trenches. So that's what sticks out to me.
Now, Scar, you've coached a lot over the years, and you get to where, they say the hay's in the barn here. I mean, they're just having a walkthrough. You hear what Jim Harbaugh had to say there, and whenever they watch a movie or whatever else tonight, what's going through the players and coaches' minds as they just get ready to, play the biggest game of their life.
Yeah, they're, they had some good preparation, and the party time stuff, all the event fun stuff is kind of winding down, and now you're zeroing in, and, you're getting into the easier practices and just walking through stuff and fine tuning everything, make sure all your adjustments are right. Make sure all those things are prepared. But, Denny, when I look at this game, I just got done looking at some more Georgia. If I'm coaching Michigan's defense, the first thing I'm talking about is stopping their zone. Their zone play is their number one run play, and they do a good job with it. Yeah, they run power, they run jet, they do some other things, but you got to start with zone. And they do a good job coaching it. They have good athletic linemen. And I think we're going to see the best backs as a group. Their backs are the best that I think we've seen. You could take one guy out, and there's still two, three more that are really, really good backs. So it doesn't matter which one of them are in there. They make you miss in space. And they're very tough to bring down, even when you do have them boxed in. So, our basic scheme defensively will be sound against zone. We just got to continue to do the things. It's nothing. We're not going to ask our guys to do nothing we haven't done all year. Just play great technique, come off blocks, be gap sound, but zone and tackle those backs. That's where I'm starting if I'm Coach McDonald.
Well, it's a great teaser, and coming up in 10 minutes, we'll have you expand on just some more of the finer points about what Georgia's doing, running the ball. James Cook, Zamir White, their first two backs out of the stable there, but as you mentioned, they have more, so we'll get to that and come up and talk about that more in a few minutes. Adam, I wanted to ask you, it's been one of the major stories in the Bowls and certainly here now in the Orange Bowl as well. It's going to be player availability and COVID tests and all this. And we know that Dax Hill didn't travel down to Miami, and Jim Harbaugh said he could be here today. Maybe not. I mean, that's the quote. So I don't know. So his status is questionable. And I think, tests or availability pending. I mean, and anything else that you would, add to that?
Geez, I think what I would add to that is if he can't go, which he may not, I think Rod Moore is going to step up and take that spot. And I think it's a big loss, of course, to lose Daxton Hill, but we've seen what Rod Moore has done this season. And it's nice to know that there's a capable backup. Georgia's passing game starts with their tight end, Brock Bowers, and they're going to line him up. They're going to put him in line. They're going to line him up wide. They're going to put him in the slot. And so you've got to have a guy who can cover the slot against a bigger guy. And the thing we know about Moore is that he's tenacious. He's a good tackler. And so I think that you would, of course, like to have Hill there. I don't know exactly what happens missing that whole week of preparation for him. But I do think that Moore is a capable backup who can step in and make plays.
Well, Scar, what about the week of preparation? It's kind of a two-pronged question for you. Is it one of the things where, you always talk about next man up? What if, a player sprained his ankle on the first play of the game, had the next man up? Is a little bit of an advantage. Of course, having Daxton Hill in there would be, you can make case he's their, third best defensive player, when you look at Ajabo and you look at Hutchinson. So it would be a huge loss, but knowing that the possibility that he might not play is a little bit of a cushion there with the next man up mentality. And what about not being able to practice all week? I mean, what do you think about all those things?
Yeah, he's definitely one of our best football players, especially defending this team where the tight end is such a huge part. I don't know how we were planning on matching up. If it was going to be him, Hawkins, I don't know how, but he's a key guy. And yeah, Moore is a great backup. The big thing is who's the third guy? Who's the guy that goes in if one of those guys go down? And who, because it's going to be a hot game. You're going to rotate some guys in. And, that's the question I have is there's going to be some kid probably going to get reps who hasn't got a ton of reps in crucial times. So that's what I'm looking at. Who's the guy that's going to go in after him? But, I don't know how much he's missed. Did he practice? If he practiced, had some bowl practices in 2 weeks ago, last week, and he's just missing a few prior to, it can be a minimal factor. He knows his adjustments. He's been running around. He's in good shape. So, we'll see. I don't know what we have no idea what that is. Is that a COVID deal? We don't know what's going on with it, but it's the next guy up is what I'm concerned with. And he's a great player.
Yeah, there's so many unknowns. I mean, I'm assuming that it's COVID because if he had a sprained ankle, I would think that he would have traveled down with the team. I mean, it's just putting two to two together here. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's something else that I'm out of line. And I understand that somebody, would criticize me for that. If there was something where you had symptoms, there have been enough people. That's also such a wide range. So you can have very mild symptoms where, you think, it's going to be all right. Whatever happens, as long as you get the two tests. But, you talk to some other people that, the symptoms, they've had some and how things can linger and everything else. I guess if we see him out there on the field that, he's, feeling 100% and, that he's had negative tests or anything else. I mean, it's not like they're going to push him in that standpoint. I mean, that's the last thing that at least I'm just thinking out loud, Adam. Anything else you can add to this situation with Hill? And maybe that, there'd be some other player. I mean, he's just hoping, crossing your fingers with everyone that he gets it tomorrow and, they just kick this thing off and that, everybody's going to be available for both sides.
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing I was just thinking about, he may not be there in person. And to your point, we really don't know where he's at physically, like how he is physically feeling right now. But we do know with the iPads that they have, he should at least be well briefed on the game plan. He's got all the film that he needs access to. So as far as the mental reps, not being there in person, you can still take care of that stuff back in Ann Arbor. So the big question is just physically, where is he at?
All right, Adam, you've seen Scar's going to stay on. We're going to break down all these different things. We're going to start with the zone run there from Georgia. But I've got two things. The last thing is going to be about the basketball game tonight. But, you've seen a million games. You've never seen one quite with for this magnitude with Michigan, certainly not in a college football playoff. How do you think it plays off? What plays out? What kind of shot do you give the Wolverines tomorrow against the Bulldogs?
Yeah, this has been so fun to cover. I think Michigan has a great shot. I think it was Aiden Hutchinson who said yesterday that Michigan has to stop the run on first and second down, and then they can pin their ears back and rush the passer on third down. And I know that's overly simplifying this game, but I think on that side of the ball, that's what's important. If they're, like Jim was saying, if they're gap sound and if they can stop the run on first and second down, I think they fare very well against Georgia's offense, Michigan's defense, that is. As far as Michigan's offense goes, yes, this is a very tough Georgia defense to play against. But the offensive line, the tight ends have just gotten better and better and better as the year goes on. You got to love that Blake Corum is healthy again. So you've got the two-headed beast there at running back with Donovan Edwards really being a third. Sort of like Georgia's running backs room, right? You've got multiple guys you can give carries to and do different things with. I think Michigan has a real shot tomorrow night. And I guess I'll go so far as to predict that they win.
I love you just saying tomorrow night. It's like, wait a second, the game is tomorrow. You're right. Scar, we're going to talk all about it. The final question, I'm going to take you a little bit north there of Miami to Orlando. Sure. And, it's still basketball season. The team hasn't played in a long time. One of those games was canceled back on the 21st. Purdue, Fort Wayne, I think it was, yes. That Michigan didn't get a chance to play. But, they need a victory is the long and short of it. And they need to get ready because after this, you get into the new year, the schedule is very daunting. And, in fact, if you include this one, which is a road game, and I don't think the Knights are any cakewalk, these next 5 games could be very telling here for Juwan Howard and company. What do you think about tonight?
Yeah, I think it's a tough game. I think, like you said, this could be very telling. You would think a December 30th contest against UCF would be not a big deal, but it is. This team, like you said, there's been the double-digit day layoff, so I think they're going to come out a little bit slow. I think it's going to be tough from that perspective, but they can't dig too deep of a hole because UCF's a good team. They've played very well lately, and so I think this all comes down to the guard play again, and then how does Michigan shoot from the outside? It's been a little bit of a roller coaster of a season there, and if they can get it going here, then I like their chances against UCF, and it matters a whole lot because, like you said, once the calendar flips, it's Big Ten season, and they have some very tough games in the beginning of the month.
All right, great stuff. Enjoy tomorrow. Is the young one going to catch both semifinals, ring in the new year with Miley Cyrus, Pete Davidson? I mean, what's the game plan there?
Yes, both.
All right.
Day. We'll go for both.
Okay, good luck with that. Happy New Year,
thank you.
And we'll talk with you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right, see you, Adam. There he is, Adam Schnepp, the senior editor, with us here. And now we have Jim Scarcelli, in side by side here. And, Jim, you started out hot talking about that zone for Georgia. And, you talk about just staying on your keys or whatever in the gaps. What else? I mean, these two backs here, you talk about James Cook and Zamir White, fabulous backs and two guys that can really run the football. One game jumps out, of course, the Michigan State game where Michigan did not do well when it came down to stopping Kenneth Walker III, who was, the Doak Walker Award winner. He had 5 touchdowns in that game. But, other than that, they've done a pretty good job. And especially these last 2 games, and you were talking about it being key against Ohio State, is really wrapping up. And I tell you, the last drive that Ohio State had in the first half, they had great tackling on that particular series, and they came out in the third quarter. And they also had, I think Josh Ross came out, filled the hole, had great tackling. So what else plays into it when you're talking about the zone that the Dogs are going to throw out there when they're trying to run the ball at Michigan tomorrow?
Denny, every team has their the good teams. Good football teams will have their best stuff. Wisconsin, it's power, it's zone, and everybody has their stuff. And when you come in, and I remember Coach McCartney and Coach Muller, it was always the same thing. We are going to take away their best stuff. We're going to start with that. We're going to take away their best stuff. So, yeah, the zone that's their foundation play. I guarantee you the first play Georgia puts in with their freshmen is zone. And they block it well. The backs know how to read it, but we know how to defend the damn play. We run it. We run zone. So I'm watching some of their games, and some of these teams are just stupid how they're lining up. They're not sound, and their players don't play gap sound. Michigan is going to line up. We're going to line up properly, and our players are going to have a hell of a lot more discipline than some of these teams I've been watching. So I feel really comfortable and confident that our guys will know how to stop it. And then you got to start. Then their next best play is power. We run power where we pull guards, we pull our center. We block down and kick out. You're familiar with that play. I know our listeners understand power. That is a Jim Harbaugh foundation play. That's probably their second best play. And they run it from different formations. Different people will pull. Our guys will know how to defend it because we see it. And but they're always, even when you slow down those plays or you think you stop them, they're always going to keep back and running them just like Michigan. It's because it's what we are. It's what we do. So they're never going to stop running those plays if you slow them down. But we got to know that's where your mindset is always going to start with on first down, like Hutchinson talks about. And then obviously, if we can get them into 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and then it gets back to this kid's ability to run. Those are the things I'm thinking about. Once we get them into those positions, those passing situations, we got to be really smart with our rush lanes. Our contained guys got to be good and know, because when you come underneath the tackle like Hutchinson and does at times, taking an inside shot, this kid is going to make you pay. He's going to make us pay if we take inside goes on their tackles. So we got to pick and choose them. He's got to be Hutchinson's got to be real smart, picking and choosing when to take an inside go on putting pressure on this kid. But again, I keep watching. I feel confident. I know what their best stuff is, and then they got some stuff in their hat too. They got jet. They'll give the ball to anybody on jet sweep. They'll give it to 19, the tight end on jet sweep. So that's a big play for them.
What about the tight end a little bit more? Bowers here, he leads them in receptions, yards, touchdowns, and I heard Mike McDonald a little bit earlier in the week talking about the challenge of them scheming it up, whether, to get the matchup that they want. And now we don't know when it comes down to the safety position, but, does Michigan try to just have one player on him, or are they passing him off? Would they like their matchup? If a corner had to go on Bowers, he's 6'4". What's Georgia want? What kind of matchup? They probably want him on a linebacker, right? But what's Michigan going to do to try to stay in at least an even matchup when it comes down to Bowers, the all SEC tight end, you think?
Yeah, it'll depend on what coverage we're in. We'll have different coverages at different times, and it could be a different player depending on the coverage, depending on the formation. But I would have thought in general, Michigan would probably like to have a safety on him. I don't know if a linebacker's a good. The kid's a problem, man. This is just like Denny. This is just like basketball. One-on-one, you look for the mismatch. You look for the screen, and you get the change, and you get the mismatch. And this kid's, he's 6'5", 6'6", and he's big and he's athletic, and he's always open if a 6 foot safety's covering him. So, who we have on him, I think, will depend on which scheme we have at that time. And we're not going to have the same scheme every formation, every down. It could be different players in zone and man. It could be different players. So everybody will have to be right, have to be smart, and let's just get lined up properly, get the right guy on them, and make him throw a good pass.
All right. I do have some audio I wanted you to listen to. It's more about the other side of the ball. We'll get to that. I see we have some feedback coming in. Antoine, who gets in on when Scar's on, he's always coming in. He thinks Michigan should try to get on the board by being aggressive offensively. If they can score first, that will enable Aiden and the boys to do their best when it comes to the zone blocking scheme. The linemen must be line discipline, try to keep a free hand and wall off the defensive lineman into the runner and be aware of the cutback. What do you think?
He's right about defending zone. I mean, you got to be they're going to try to knock you off the ball. So the first thing is you got to play at the line of scrimmage. Again, it gets back to 15 and 58. You heard me pound that all day long, all year long. I think we're going to see some
from Michigan. That's Chris Hinton and Mozzie Smith. All right.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see the 3 down front like we had against Iowa, like we ran against Wisconsin. We've run it a few times this year. Certain times against Michigan State. You'll see Jenkins in the game also. So anyway, we got to play. Number one, you got to play stout at the line of scrimmage. You can't move you off the ball. And then you got to occupy the way you defend zone, Denny, is their two offensive linemen are going to try to block our nose and linebacker. Or it's going to be two try and the defensive lineman has got to keep the second offensive lineman from getting to the backer. You got to force 2 to stick on you and block you. That's how you defend zone, is you keep and you try to force 2 offensive players to stick on you, stay on you where they can't come off. Iowa runs the zone as good as anybody in the country, and we stuck it up their backside. So we know how to defend zone. But Antoine's right about defending it. And as far as being aggressive offensively, he talked about, I think we just need to be smart and do what we've done. The defense is going to dictate how aggressive we are. Gaddis is going to see, we'll line up in a certain formation. He'll have an idea of what he wants to run. Gaddis will see what George is doing, and then he'll call the plays accordingly. So a lot of our aggressiveness or conservativeness will be based on, what's Georgia doing to defend these formations.
Good stuff. Brown asking if Bowers is that tall. He says he doesn't think so. Well, he's listed at 6'4", so that's what he's listed at. So what are we going to? He says he looks every bit of 6'4". You watch Georgia play. So I don't know. Brown, we'll get a tape measure out on him, see if there's any. He likes your idea of talking about the down 394 with Chris Jenkins being in there as well. All right, we have 2. I've got Cade McNamara talking, then I've got Gary Danielson talking about Cade McNamara. Let me take you over to the offensive side of the ball. You can always go back to the defensive side as well. And if you're out there watching, you've got a question, you have a comment, go ahead and put it up there. We'll put it on the screen. And Jim Scarcelli will talk about it and your point there. Here's Cade McNamara via MGO Blue TV. Talking yesterday about the college football playoff. Here's McNamara.
I think it's really just the way we prepared so far. I think this team, I feel like maybe at the end of the season, maybe, some guys are starting to look on the other side of the fence as to next year or whatever. But I think every single one of these guys has truly cherished the last moments that, this team has had. This team will never be the same after this. We only get, 1 year. And I think we all know this is a special group.
All right, Scar, they're dialed in. Cade McNamara, he's the leader of this team. The one thing, we talk a lot about J.J. McCarthy, but it certainly seems like the offensive line, the offensive players here, they have rallied around, and, they do look to Cade McNamara. They talk an awful lot about 12 and his leadership, and, he has sounded like that leader here in Orange Bowl preparation.
Yeah, I just I love what I hear these players saying. I coached a long time, and I used to let my players interview with the media. I thought it was important, and I knew that we were really getting the message across as coaches when I started to hear our players pound and repeat the same things that we were reinforcing as coaches. So when I hear Michigan's players to a man, all talk about team, all talk about the next guy, all talk about how humble they are and all the things that the Michigan coaching staff should be real proud of, because they are saying the things that their coaches are pounding into them. So, McNamara, I just think the kid is so humble and he's confident. He's the last kind of guy I want to go against because he's so damn smart. And I just like the humbleness I hear from all of them. Nobody takes any more credit than the next guy, and that all starts with the leader, and it's spread out through the assistant coaches, and that's the whole mentality in that whole Schembechler Hall, man. Team, team, team.
Here's a guy that played in the Big Ten and played for the Lions. The quarterback, Gary Danielson, he calls a lot of SEC games, and he was on Sirius XM radio this week, and he was asked about Cade McNamara and what he likes about the Michigan signal caller.
McNamara is able to kind of be a Harbaugh-type quarterback. You know, nothing really look at it like, what does he have? What does he have? But his players love him. He plays tough. He gets rid of the ball, doesn't get sacked a lot. You know, he plays a good style for what Harbaugh is looking for.
Well, there's Gary Danielson, and you know what? You forget about some of those things, but he has protected the ball well, and he doesn't take a lot of sacks. I mean, in a lot of the games, you look at his stat line, you're saying, hey, there's not a lot of completions. There's not a lot of attempts there, but, you know, Michigan played the game a certain way. But that part about not taking sacks and getting rid of the ball, that's one of those things that McNamara has been really good at this year.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell a Harbaugh quarterback means. Okay, if it means winning a Big Ten championship finally, we'll take it. If it means playing smart and not turning the ball over, we'll take it. If it means getting your team in the right play, but you know, we'll take that because we haven't always had those kind of quarterbacks that are putting us in the right play or making the smart pass. So maybe Jim has finally got the kind of guy that he wants. But yeah, hey, if he just keep doing what he's been doing, and I think that was a compliment that he was giving Cade McNamara and Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah, I think he was actually talking about, you know, when Harbaugh was a player. I mean, now as a coach, he's got, you know, a Harbaugh type quarterback, but maybe he meant as Harbaugh as a player, you know, that's out there. I don't know. Certainly the talent, but, you know, maybe, you know, Harbaugh is a quarterback. He, you know, I don't know. How would you, a gamer? That's what I would say, you know, tough as nails in a gamer. I mean, just give him a straight arm to win the game. I think maybe that's what Danielson was talking about. I mean, you see any of the similarities there?
Hey, yeah, I played. Jim was 1 year behind me, so we played. I had him as our quarterback 2 years, and he was smart. Jim didn't turn the ball over very much. He was athletic as hell and tough. Jim was a lot more like McCarthy athletically. You know, he could avoid the rush, and he was athletic. And you know, Jim had the respect of his teammates from a toughness standpoint. You know, a lot of quarterbacks, Bo made them wear the red jersey, the pink jersey in practice. You know.
Yeah.
A lot of guys didn't like wearing it. I never forget there was a scrimmage one time. We had a scrimmage, and I remember the coaches and they were going at it with Harbaugh and some of these guys. And this is at the stadium, a spring scrimmage, and next thing I know, Harbaugh took his jersey off, you know, the pink jersey off. I said, okay, they're taking the jersey off the guy. And apparently Jim didn't want to wear the jersey and say, we're going to scrimmage and, you know, let the guy get hit. So it kind of elevated his toughness in the minds of a lot of people. I just remember that, you know, he didn't want to wear the pink jersey, which was always a good thing. But I see him a lot like both of our quarterbacks, accurate, like McNamara, with a little more athleticism like McCarthy, and you know, with a good amount of toughness in there too. But humble and confident. Humble and confident.
Yeah, what else can you ask for? While you're reminiscing, we'll get back to the game tomorrow and have some points. We'll recalibrate all of that. But while you're looking back here, you know, what'd you play? 4 or 5 bowl? How many bowls did you go to when you were a player?
I went to 5 bowl games.
5 bowls. Give me a highlight or two of, you know, of playing in so many bowl games. That's a heck of a lot. 5.
You know, it's a lot of work. You got a lot of practices that are tough. Back in Ann Arbor, and then we always left on Christmas Day. And you know, when you're a young guy, I'm just kind of reminiscing, thinking about this team out there. You know, when you're a young guy and not playing, the bowl experience is a lot different than the guys that are actually they got to be ready to go, and they're mentally focused on playing a great game. So I've experienced all that, and you want to try to have a little fun and take up and go to some of the events and enjoy it, which it appears that the Michigan guys have been able to do. And then you want to prepare and play well. Now, and again, I'm also thinking about some of these guys that are going to play their last game, because I remember my last game, and it's a very emotional event, and you want to have great preparation and you want to play a great game. So there's a lot of guys, Haskins and Vistardis and Hutchinson and Ross. These guys are going to play their last game, and it's a very emotional event on top of the importance of this game. So yeah, Denny, I could talk about a lot of the different bowl games, but these kids, it's a big game for them. It's a big event emotionally in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I hear you. It reminded me when you're talking about it's two different. You're in the two deep or something, and now add on to it. Like back in the day, if you're playing for a Rose Bowl, but if you're playing for a championship, that's got to be something different. But yeah, I can remember some of the bowls. I think it might have been the Citrus Bowl where they had this like beef eating contest between the two teams. They put some freshman offensive lineman out there. He's eating a 65-ounce porterhouse or something. You're like, wait a second, man, these guys got to play later this week. Let's not have them down in this much beef or something. But yeah, you're putting guys in there, maybe like a true freshman offensive lineman or defensive lineman or something. Somebody that you might feel it the next day. It's going to be all right.
Benny, I got to share a story with you because you bring up a great point. I was a sophomore. We went to the Rose Bowl. I wasn't playing. I was redshirted that year, and we went to the Beef Bowl. And Bo says, we're not going to eat any more than 2 steaks. They were like, what the heck were they? I don't know, 48-ounce, huge, big steaks, 32 ounces or something. Prime ribs at Lowry's. Great. You ever go to Los Angeles, man, go to Lowry's. Best prime rib you're ever going to get. Anyway, I ate 4 of those dang things because I didn't care. I wasn't playing the game. But if I'm playing, that's a whole nother story. I don't think I want to be lugging around, 4 big steaks in me for a couple of days. But yeah, there's a totally different mentality with those things.
Did you make it to curfew all 5 years?
Yeah, I did. But there were guys that were sent home. I seen it. And Bo said, I want you guys coming down eating breakfast. And there was one guy who was late for breakfast. And they just happened to be giving out the per diem. We actually got a couple dollars to spend when you went to a bowl game. And there was a guy that was a couple minutes late for breakfast. They didn't give him his per diem. He said, I want you here at a certain time. And if he was a couple minutes late, but they wanted you up. They wanted you, but I did see guys that, they didn't have their priorities right. And I seen guys sent home. That was something that did happen.
All right, before we get to some more Orange Bowl talk and some other things that you wanted to talk about to highlight as we, get closer and closer to kickoff, which is awesome, which is tomorrow, I did want to get to the Michigan recruiting spotlight, and I have some audio for you here. Now, Michigan, they had a class that was ranked in the top 10. They've got the late signing period now for 22. They're still in on some players, and I found out yesterday that they're still recruiting a running back. They liked a running back that ultimately decided to go to Ohio State to play linebacker. And I've got some audio here, and it comes from a recruiting editor, Brandon Justice. This is a target for this year at running back in the late signing period, which is Wednesday, February the 2nd. Here's Brandon Justice talking about Andrew Paul, running back out of Texas.
Well, Trey Adam comes along the transfer portal. Everyone, including them, seems to believe they're going to land him until that final hour. And then now they have to shift everything around. And, a la, here comes Paul. So that's where the Paul offer came in. And like I said, like the film, I think he's a kid Michigan prioritizes going into signing day along with Connerly. He's nowhere near as important as Connerly, but I do think he is a nice complement to CJ Stokes. And I think that's a nice running back class. You're not getting this super lofty expectation running back class. Hardly do you see those as much anymore anyway. But I do think that those two are going to fit well. if Paul ends up at Michigan. I think those two would fit well in Ann Arbor. I think it would be a nice addition to the running back room.
There you go. And the Connerly that Justice was talking about is Josh Connerly, who's a tackle out of Washington. If people didn't know, most people that follow Michigan recruiting know exactly who he's talking about there. So an additional running back to keep an eye on, at least to February 2nd. All right, back here to the eve of the Orange Bowl. We talked about offense, talked about defense. What else are you thinking about here as we get closer to kickoff? Game plan's in. They're going through the walkthrough. Maybe watch a movie or something tonight. Get to that breakfast tomorrow. Have another walkthrough tomorrow, or what's tomorrow? What's tomorrow's itinerary like, you think?
Well, let's see. Today is going to be a non-padded day, and today is just we're Thursday. Today is Thursday. The game is tomorrow night, so today is a non-padded walkthrough, short, 45-minute to an hour deal. Everything is in. Everybody knows what they're doing. Now the deal on a night game, that's a deal where you probably want to get your team up Friday morning, when they get up and have a light breakfast and probably go for a walk. Danny, get them out of the hotel. You can't sit there all for 8 hours watching football and sit in a hotel room. You got to get them out moving around. Danny, I wanted to talk about something though real quick. Is I listened to the press conferences of Josh Gaddis and Mike McDonald. And man, I just wanted to say how impressed I was with both those guys. I'm going to first talk about McDonald for a second, just the intelligence of this guy. And I just see a guy that I would love to play for. I know the players feel confident in him. He just smacks you in the face of intelligence. He doesn't seem like a loud guy. Those loud guys, I want to go against those guys. Those really smart, cerebral guys. I just was loving listening to what he talked about, developing his base and how we want to easily adjust to what everybody's doing. It's a lot of the same stuff I was taught. And I see it. I see how they demonstrate those things throughout the year, some of the things he talked about. And, he talked about number 19. He talked about knowing every single thing that they want to do with number 19 and how every single alignment, every down and distance of where number 19 is, how it matters. And it's how we got to know all those things. We can't make a mental mistake knowing what every formation, every alignment means for number 19 or everybody else on that team. But I was just really impressed with him as an intelligent presenter of defense. And then I listened to Josh Gaddis, man, and I see how he come along.
Give me one thing for people that are watching and listening. 19 is Brock Bowers, the tight end. That's for people that don't know. You say, who's this 19 that Scar's talking about? That's Bowers. He's got, Michigan's going to have their hands full. And so now go over to Gaddis and what you heard from the Broyles Award winner, given to the top assistant, the highest honor you can get as an assistant college football coach. What'd you think of Gaddis and what he had?
I could see where I want him on our staff, man. I want both those guys on our staff. I see a guy who is a humble guy, who's a smart guy, who he knows which buttons to push offensively. He knows how to motivate his players. I see a guy that could go into a living room and recruit. Both those guys, I see that. And he gave a lot of credit to Coach Harbaugh for hanging in there with him. Because, a lot of people were beating up that Michigan offense the last couple of years. And they were blaming Harbaugh, blaming Gaddis. And I think that, Jim had faith in him. He said, look, we're going to have a physicalness to us. We're going to have a speed and space element to us. And that's what Michigan has. They've evolved offensively to have the physical Stanford stuff, to have the speed and space that he did at Alabama, and find a good marriage for it. And it's tough to defend. And he's gotten better as a coach. He gave a lot of credit to. He says the right things, man. He gives credit to all his players, the coach who had faith in him, and he understands his offense, his weapons. I just like what I heard him say. I think I got to believe both those guys are going to be a pro or head coach material pretty soon with just the things they had to say. They're good in front of a microphone, and I know they're damn good coaches.
Yeah, I think it's a great point when you talk about the marriage of philosophies there. I remember when Josh Gaddis was coming in, I asked him specifically because most people saw this is Jim Harbaugh's offense. Jim Harbaugh's calling all the shots, and I asked him that question specifically, and he said, look, he told me as a man that I'm going to be involved here and I'm going to be calling the shots. Now, that was his first year, but as you're going along, I mean, it's not Josh Gaddis isn't calling every single play. I mean, it is a team effort. And then on game day, Scar, if it's coming down to a fourth and a foot, the first series, Michigan's on their own 45 and it's fourth and a foot. I think they'll go for it, but I think, Harbaugh's probably giving them the hey, let's go for it. Or he said, hey, Josh, you want to go for it here? I mean, if you ask the offensive coordinator, maybe he wants to go for it every time. Ultimately, I think the coach is going to have to come up with that decision. And I just wonder when it comes to some of the trick plays that they have when it came to the double pass that Donovan Edwards had, was that something that Gaddis was like, okay, this is what we're seeing here. Does Jim relay that in? And same thing when, they're coming down to those fourth down calls. You do, because sometimes Jim is going to probably have a little bit more of his fingerprints, whether it's on a game plan or during a game. Those two guys have to really work in concert. It's the same thing on the defensive side, but, knowing Harbaugh as a quarterback and an offensive guy here, I mean, those two have to, have some camaraderie and have to have a feel for one another in a game.
Yeah, that relationship is we don't know, Danny. To answer, we don't know exactly how much influence Coach Harbaugh mandated to the physicalness, or we don't know. Whatever it is, we're seeing that it appears that they work together well. They don't care who gets the credit. Jim is quick to mention Josh Gaddis as the guy who's calling the plays, and it's working. It's working well. But yeah, when I was a head coach, I would just be the guy to tell my offensive coordinator, okay, we're going to go for it. That was, and it was his job. I never called a play as a head coach. I let my offensive guys do it. And everybody has a different philosophy. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But anytime you give a guy ownership, he's gonna fight a little harder for you. So if you let him call the plays like Coach Harbaugh's doing, you just can't give him all the crummy stuff when you delegate. You got to give a guy some good stuff too. So I just thought that I just was liking what I was hearing from both of them. I feel Gaddis has got he's got tricks. They're gonna Georgia's. Another thing about this game, Denny. Another thing I want to talk about. We have our best stuff that we run. Okay, and Georgia's going to look there and say, okay, we got to stop their power. We got to stop their zone. They like to run their isolation with the tight ends that lead through. They like to run their revert. Okay, we got our best stuff, and they got their best stuff. And it's really going to be who can stop each other's best stuff without compromising the ability to defend all these other things. You don't want to overcommit. We don't want to have to overcommit people to stop their zone play. We should be able to do it with our base stuff where we can still, play pass good, play jet, play screens, play other plays without having to overcommit to stopping someone's best stuff. As an offensive coach, when you got a defense that has to overcommit to stop your best stuff, that's when you got them. Because now you can do your other things when they're overcommitting and not playing sound defense to stop your best stuff. So that's going to be something too. Looking at this game is which team can stop each other's best stuff within the framework of their basic defense.
I like it. Before you get to another point, a couple questions in here. There's a Venice Blue thinks that he would double Bauer's inside-out coverage on passing downs, make them hold the ball, make him go somewhere else. He says just having Dax be a shadow is not going to work because he doesn't think Dax is great in coverage. Also wants to bring 6 more than they usually do against Georgia. The quarterback doesn't do good with pressure from what he's seen on tape. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, Michigan has not really doubled people philosophically. I haven't seen it from them at all. They'll we'll have a safety over the top. We'll play with man coverage and play safeties and maybe cheat more towards certain players. But yeah, that's a lot to commit. See, that's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Is we don't want to have to stop this Bowers kid by overcommitting and taking away from, because you still have to defend the run. You still got to defend that team's basic stuff. And if you overcommit to stopping a certain player, that's when they got you. So we got to pick and choose how we defend this guy, maybe with a safety over the top. Bracket coverages out of zones. There's a lot of ways to do it where you don't compromise, your ability to stop their basic. We don't want them to just hand the ball off to a running back, period.
Yeah, and one thing that you notice, and it gets back to some of the elementary things in football, if you're getting pressure from when they're throwing the ball, if you're getting pressure with your 4 front guys, that you don't really need to, add, you can take the linebackers and, instead of having them going forward, you can have them going back. So maybe, so if you're getting a Jabo and you're getting Hutchinson in there and the middle guys are doing their job, then, you can get pressure with that 4. That's really going to help you out. Specific question for you, Scar. It says, can you ask Scar if Michigan should rebrand Michigan into the school of the trench and try to outmuscle the Big Ten since they don't play big boy football anymore? I think he's talking about the rest of the Big Ten. And he thinks Dax should be able to cover the tight end, adding that he should be able to cover him dancing without the extremely accurate quarterback. Bennett's not that accurate. Bowers, it may be the jump ball, and adding that Dax is really a safety. They just play him at corner. So a lot of different things there. What about Michigan moving forward if they come out and say, hey, it's old school, punch you in the mouth, physical football, rather than, let's light up the scoreboard type branding, if that's something. What do you make of that? Might be something that we think about a lot more after the Orange Bowl, but how about a thought on it?
I think it's good for recruits. Everything is about recruiting, always recruiting. And we want offensive linemen. We want tight ends. When they're looking at Michigan, look how many tight ends Michigan has in the pros, because pros want tight ends that can do both, block and catch. They don't want imposters. They want guys that can do both. They want offensive linemen that can do both, run block, pass protect. If you look at the Big Ten, Wisconsin, Iowa, those are guys that have a physical mentality that put out a lot of really good offensive linemen. We want Michigan guys there because that's all going to help recruiting. So I think we're getting that we're getting that kind of a reputation now, and this year is definitely going to solidify it, and it's all going to help recruiting. So the brand would, Michigan to be known as physical, run blocking, all around development of offensive linemen is good. Now he talks about Dax Hill and our ability to cover. I agree. We're going to do what we've done all year. I mean, who are some? I'm trying to think of a comparable tight end. Iowa had a good tight end. We've managed to neutralize them. We got to do it within the framework of what we do. We got to bring pressures the way we do it. We've been disguising pressures. We bring 4, but they're different guys. and we still don't compromise our coverage. McDonald does a lot of bringing different people while still dropping, 7 in coverage. So that's what I like as a defense, because those are the things I used to try to do too, is how can I manufacture, how can I help? You can't just line up in your 4-man rush and let them, sometimes you can have success cutting them loose, let your 4 D linemen go and then drop everybody else. But a lot of times you help those D linemen by faking with the linebacker blitz, or bringing the linebacker blitz and dropping a defensive end, or bringing a safety and dropping a nose guard, which we've done. And those things all put an offensive protection in conflict. And that's what I like about McDonald, is he's messing with the minds of the offensive protection without compromising our ability to cover and not put, it's kind of the opposite of what Don Brown would do. He brought pressure. A lot of times the secondary were the guys that caught the brunt of the responsibility.
All good stuff. I want to make sure you get everything out here. I'm going to give you a thought on both sides of the ball. I'll do it one at a time, though. We'll stay with the defense. Bowers, I mean, it's something when you got a receiver and a tight end here that is, the SEC, the freshman of the year, and he's leading the team in touchdowns, receptions, targets, and catches. I mean, that's everything. I mean, I know they got Pickens back late and he should be available in this game, but Bowers, really, when it comes to the passing game, he is the marked man. But for me, to feel good about Michigan winning this game, and I know there's 100 things and, all these different plays, but I feel like if Michigan can tackle well like they did against Ohio State and really contain that running game, I think that's going to give the offense a chance to make some big plays and win this game. So that's how I feel like with them. You can say, well, what are you concerned about? Yeah, concerned about Bowers, concerned about the running game going crazy for Georgia, going back to the Michigan State game with Kenneth Walker the way they did. But, yeah, if Michigan can control that running game, I think they could also control Bowers being able to add whether, some of that stuff you talked about. That's what I see from Michigan on defense, as, a path to victory.
Yeah, you're right, Denny. It all starts with controlling the run game of Georgia. It all starts with that, because you look at our victory at Penn State. The last few times we've gone there and got beat, it always was the same thing. Our defense would get run over. We'd be down 14, 13, nothing. And then our offense didn't have the luxury of being patient and getting into a groove. But this year it was different for our offensive football team, is because our defense never put pressure on our offense. We always kind of, neutralized the opponent, where our offense was able to get its bearings and get going. So you make a great point. Our defense has got to, neutralize. And I was watching some of their Florida game and some of their stuff. Those teams all slowed them down early, and they were forcing Georgia to start throwing and start rolling that kid out. And they're going to roll him out, man, a lot. They're going to run him. And that's when we're doing good. When that kid is rolling out and they're running quarterback draws and they're running the quarterback stuff and throwing some of the high percentage passes, that's when we're starting to do the right thing.
Yeah, and if I flip you over on the offensive side, early against Michigan State, the one thing that I know that Cade McNamara can do is he can throw that ball and throw a very catchable football over the middle between the hashes. I mean, and I know he has thrown some other deep and down the sideline, but where he likes to throw the ball between those hashes or right on the hash, whether it's to Andrell Anthony, whether it was to Roman Wilson at the end of the first quarter of Penn State, man, he really delivers a nice football there. And if there's one spot that you can attack the Georgia defense, at least heading into this game, it looks like it is up top. And however they are, I'm sure the plan is let's test and see what they can do in the run game. But if they've got enough receivers, and McNamara can do enough things, whether it is Roman Wilson, whether it is Anthony, whether it is Cornelius Johnson, they now have 2 tight ends that they can feature that either of these guys can catch the ball and do things with with some yak, with some yards after the catch here, with what we've seen from Schoolmaker, who's, got arms as big as you, Scar. And then, all runs like, I know everybody's talking about Bowers, but you know what? All could be playing on Sundays, and he might end up going there this year. We saw that play he had against the man-to-man coverage for the 47-yarder against Penn State. I'm saying all that. I think that Michigan, the sneaky attack, even though you dance with the girl that brought you or whatever you want to say, you don't change your identity. If the other team's weakness is in that secondary, Michigan's just waiting for their chance, whatever it is, to get that ball. And I like, all those guys that I mentioned, I'd like to see all those guys get chances to make plays down the field because all seem very capable.
Denny, I can't believe I'm negligent in voicing it, and you hit it, and it's something that is smacking you right in the face. We got 2 damn good tight ends too, man. Okay, and our guys can both block, and our guys are a problem for their secondary. The same way, I guarantee you, our tight end coach and our core was hammering it all week, all these last couple weeks about Bowers. Well, we got Alls. We got Shoemaker. We got 2 damn good tight ends too. The hell with this kid. He don't even block. Okay, our guys are going to be a problem for their secondary too. So you make a great point. I can't believe I didn't bring it up in the past because our guys are going to be a problem for their secondary too. And we're going to capitalize on it. And just like you say, we've had good success hitting those seams with our tight ends down the middle. And Gaddis has done a good job of freeing up our tight ends. And they're going to be a factor in this game. And maybe our tight ends are going to outplay their guys. It gets back to that same thing Schembechler used to say. Our tight ends got to be better than their tight ends. Our quarterback got to be better than their quarterbacks in those big games. So you make a great point. Our guys are going to shine.
I like it. Now, I've got 2 other things. One is a memorabilia minute. The other one is a word on the basketball team, which gets back into action tonight against Central Florida. So, Scar, I don't know if you have anything memorabilia wise. You probably have got a million things in there that we'd like to look at. I do have something in a pinch, and I'll just show you. There's somebody that played for the Miami Heat back in the day. The great Glenn Rice is what I have to feature here. But of course, you could come up with something a little bit better. And I'm just showing the Heat cards because Michigan is in Miami. But do you have anything that you could show there?
Glenn Rice, what a legend, man. Was anybody hotter for those 6 games?
No.
That win the championship? Danny, I got something. I'm looking around. You're going to think I'm crazy, but it's a memory for me.
All right, memory.
Okay. I got a big old jar of peppercini peppers. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see them perfectly. Right. Are you gonna put that in a slow cooker with some?
No. Here I eat the heck out of them. Danny, I got that vowel at the end of my name. We like our Italian. We like our peppercini peppers. So anyway, here's why would I bring those dang peppercini peppers out here for a memorable minute? When Bo Schembechler came to my house on my recruiting trip, my mom made a big plate of spaghetti. We had spaghetti and meatballs.
All right.
And I never forget how many peppers Coach Schembechler ate with our spaghetti and meatballs. I mean, I could eat a lot of them at a sitting, and Bo was hanging right there with me and my dad eating spaghetti and meatballs and peppercini peppers. So I eat the heck out of them. I thought it would be, I didn't even think about it till I'm looking around my room and I just happen to have a jar of peppercini peppers there. But Coach Schembechler loved them and he ate a stack of them. So that's my memorable minute about Coach Schembechler and peppercini peppers.
Oh, well, I'm with it. You know what? Maybe you cook up some spaghetti and with a side of peppercini for tomorrow. I was going to put a big bowl of oranges up here. My wife ordered some of these up. There's this one that's the ugliest orange you could ever see, but It is it's so good. Samoan or something, and then she's got some like tangerines. You sit there, you can eat them like candy. But it was going to look good here. I'm going to have to work on that Orange Bowl for tomorrow, and we do have the Glenn Rice card for you. And you're right, he set the record of most points scored in an NCAA tournament, so that's good for the memorabilia minute here. So let's ask you about the basketball team. They haven't played in a long time here. Scar, it's been a minute. Southern Utah was the game. We did a post game, and they were supposed to play back on the 21st, but here we are on December 30th. So it's been a long time. They've got a 5-game stretch that's daunting for them. After they go down to Orlando, they've got to go to Rutgers. This is in the new year on the 4th, and then it's Michigan State and Purdue in back-to-back games at Chrysler before going to Illinois. That's their next 5 games. They've got to win 3 of those games, at least the way I'm looking at it. I mean, how do you feel about the basketball team? They've had a lot of chance and a lot of opportunity to practice here to get ready for this game tonight.
Hey, UCF is good. I saw them play this year. They got good players, man. I've been to a game there on that campus. They get good fan support. They got a good coach, Johnny Dawkins, the old Duke guy. He's their coach, and this is gonna be a challenge for us going on the road. UCF, we've been down there for a couple days. We got to go to Magic and the Magic practice and watch old Franz and Mo and Ziggy, and maybe some of that Franz 38 points the other night will rub off on some of our shooters. But this will be a tough game. No question, they're good. And Adam says it. Let's make shots, man. Let's pull this whole thing together. Let's try to have that confidence that we had at Nebraska a couple weeks back. But this is going to be a tough task for our guys tonight on the road in playing at UCF.
All right, Scar, I got a surprise for you. This is called an audio surprise. Tell me who this is.
We didn't get my turn yet. I'm going to break this time.
I'm going to let you hear that one more time. Who is the mystery audio man?
We didn't get my turn yet. I'm going to break this time.
Denny.
Do you know who that is?
Oh, heck yeah, I know who that is. I think I told you I was a free agent with the Raiders back in '86.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was. I didn't make the team, but I was there in training camp for a while and played in a couple preseason games. But I remember going to the training table, the lunch one, after practice, and then we had our luncheon. And I remember seeing John Madden. He was in the room eating lunch. He was already working in broadcasting. This was 1986. He had retired, I guess, maybe 78, 7, something like that. But anyway, I remember seeing him. And he was 20 feet from me eating lunch. And, I didn't speak to him, but he was there. I was in the room with him, and I loved him. I loved hearing him. I loved hearing him talk as doing a game, because you learned from the guy, man. He was funny, and you learned from him. And I just loved listening to him. And I remember his son was doing something down there. I remember his son was, and I just heard his son speaking, and I think they were playing college football. One of them, I think, was in the Ivy League. But I remember those guys were working down there, working out in the weight room, his kids. But I do remember seeing him, and I just think the guy's the best because he was funny, he was entertaining, and we learned from him, man. He explained things. Coach Harbaugh was right, how he made things seem that were difficult. And so much of coaching is that you take difficult things and make them really simple so everybody can understand it.
That's right. That was John Madden. So you got it right. The former broadcaster who passed away this week. And you know what? What you'll remember about this year is that after the Michigan-Ohio State game, John Madden sent Jim Harbaugh a text and said that was the best blocking he had ever seen from an offensive line, and that that John's grandson, Jesse, is a freshman quarterback at Michigan, number 18, who is down there in the Orange Bowl dressed for the Wolverines. So there it is. I mean, the maize and blue flavor when it comes for John Madden and his grandson. And, listening to the interviews over the last a couple days since he passed, one of the points that was made is that, John Madden went out on top. He did that last Super Bowl. It was a great Super Bowl. The Cardinals and the Steelers, where Antonio Holmes caught that great pass from Ben Roethlisberger when, the series before Larry Fitzgerald went down there. It looked like the Cardinals were going to win it with Kurt Warner and all that, but he went out on top. And he said the reason was not that he, thought that he was losing anything broadcasting, but he had missed time with his kids, being able to go to the different football games and everything else. Even though he contacted them all and did the best that he could there, he was able to, stay and have a good relationship with his kids. But he wanted to make sure with his grandchildren that he could get to some of that T-ball stuff and Pop Warner football games. And, here it is with Jesse, a freshman quarterback at Michigan, kind of bringing it all back here to the Wolverines and the Orange Bowl, who's down there in Miami there. Jesse Madden.
Yeah, that's a great thing that the kid picked Michigan. I don't. I imagine he's a walk-on, and I hate to even use that term, but he's on the team. He's a football player, and he values great education. He wanted to play with a great coach and a great program, and that says a lot about Michigan that he's here with us. And John Madden's a legend, man. Everybody loved him. The guy was just great to listen to, man.
Scar, you want to dance? You got a prediction score-wise? I picked Michigan in this one, 24-20. You don't have to give a score.
I said 27-23. I think it's going to be a grind to score, and Michigan's going to find a way. Michigan players are going to make more plays. We're going to make more catches. Our tight end's going to play better than their tight ends. Our quarterback's going to play better than their quarterback. As good as their running backs are, our running backs are going to outplay them. We're going to out-team them. We're going to out-fight them. Michigan, man, we're going to get the Big Ten rolling. We're 2-0 now. The Gophers look tough the other night, playing physical, and Maryland looked tough. They won in New York, so we're looking good.
Good stuff, Scar. Thanks. We'll talk to you after the basketball game tonight.
I'll be around.
All right. Yes. All right. For Jim Scarcelli, I'm Dennis Fithian. Thanks for watching.
So I'm thinking I'ma screw me something hot in this South Summer rain game melting pot. Hottest club.
All right, Denny.